Hi, welcome back to Film Story Recap. Today I am going to explain a movie, Bird Box. The movie starts with a radio soundtrack. They have a community in it. They are safe here. If you come by this river, identify where we are. But they say it's more difficult if you have children. He is Mallory Hayes. Mallory telling two children. She calls them boy and girl. They will go on a risky outing across the water, and she focuses how critical it is that they keep their blindfolds on as they head outside. Mallory gets a container with her pet birds inside and guides the children outside by following a string trail prior to tracking down the boat and bouncing in on the stream. 5 years earlier, Jess sees Mallory's painting, which she says symbolizes a lack of represents. However, Jess tells her that it won't be like that with a child. She then offers to accompany Mallory to the specialist. Mallory meets Dr. Labam and confronts Jess about drinking while pregnant. Labam doesn't find the ideas very entertaining, and offers an alternative to let someone adopt the child if Mallory feels she isn't ready to raise the child. On their way out of the hospital, Mallory notices that a woman they passed is now acting strangely and banging her head against the glass window. As confusion ensues, they run out. Individuals crash their vehicles on the road. In fact, it is a kind of demon that penetrates the beholders through their eyes and drives them to commit suicide. Mallory turns to grab Jess' cell phone. After a while, Jess's eyes became strange, and she began to see something that no one but her could see, and was horrified. She drives the vehicle wildly and Mallory tries to control her, but Jess flips the vehicle and crashes. However, they survived. But as Jess is still stunned, Mallory watches as her sister falls in front of the truck and dies. Mallory goes to every person. She was pushed and fell in front of a house. A woman named Lydia leaves her home to help Mallory, despite the opposition of her husband, Douglas. Before Lydia helps Mallory, she appears distraught and has a conversation with her mother. Lydia sat down next to the burning vehicle, which exploded within minutes. Lydia dies. A man named Tom helps Mallory and runs into the house. They are followed by a policeman named Lucy. Douglas wouldn't let the door open. Greg, the owner of the house, lets them in. Also at home are Charlie, Felix, Cheryl and a couple named Jason and Samantha. They learn through television that everything that affected people in Europe and Siberia has now come to America. Jason and Samantha leave the house after hearing on the phone that the couple's children are in critical condition. A wide variety of people inform each other of what they have discovered in the survivors of this secret power. Charlie suspects that the element is created by evil entities that appear to be someone's deepest problem or most significant misfortune. Each of them feels that the object is invisible and seeing it as self-destructive. Mallory leaves the meeting and Tom goes to comfort Jess by telling her what happened. The mob then barricaded the entrances and put papers on the windows so that no one could see. In the present day, after 6 hours on the stream, Mallory and the children continue down the waterway. He also carries birds. That is because birds betray near evil spirits. Mallory tries to contact the safe community by radio and begins to hear her name being muttered. In the past, a survivor named Olympia begs to be allowed home. Douglas tries to stop this, but Mallory grabs a gun for good measure. Tom goes to cover the girl's eyes with a cloth. The others blindfolded and cautiously let Olympia into the house, and they see that she is more pregnant. Greg, at that point, offers to look at the transmitters in the house to see what's outside. Others warn that it can be dangerous. Greg then ties himself up with rope to stop himself from committing suicide. Then others leave. He sits there while the PCs back away to watch something on Greg's screens. Then he seems to do whatever. Then others hear noises from the room. They rush up, causing Greg to lean over and crush his head against a ledge, killing him. Others, at that time, clear the PC screen. Then Greg dies. After that night, Olympia tries to talk to Mallory about their possible baby names, but Mallory prefers solitude. She wanders around and thinks she hears a noise in the house, but finds it to be Lucy and Felix joining. Back again to current day. 14 hours on the river, Mallory hears a man's voice and says that it is safe to take out the eyes. Though Mallory orders the children not to do so, he vouches that he has food and has seen the object, saying that there is no obvious explanation for fearing it. Mallory grabs her gun and fires blindly, and before long, the man follows her and tries to gouge her eyes out. Mallory fights the man and stabs him to death. That demon leaves some mentally ill people to take over others. In the past, the crowd began to run out of food and they realized that help was not coming. Mallory, Tom, Douglas, Lucy and Charlie go together to visit the store where Charlie was working. They paint over the windows and use GPS to operate them. Out and out, they feel themselves rolling over dead bodies and try to ignore it. The GPS will then start preparing for a close again, which means the ghost is surrounding them. Charlie gets nervous. Mallory controls him. Tom figures out how to get them out of danger. They reach the supermarket. Tom closes his eyes and closes the windows first. Everyone is happy. They take as much food as possible. Mallory sees sees some of the birds she chooses to take with her as pets. Unexpectedly, Charlie's co-worker, a man known as Fish Fingers, hears a voice asking him to let him out of the fridge, where he is safely kept. He, at that point, starts going on about how the element is wonderful and must be seen. Fish's fingers begin to break as Lucy, Tom and Douglas try to stop him. Birds flap their wings to show that it is bad. Charlie, at that moment, looks at him and admits that he is bad. He approaches Fish Fingers and forces them both to vacate the cooler, where Charlie kicks the door down, allowing the others to return. Then Charlie dies too. Fish Fingers asks to release again. That evening, Mallory bonds with Douglas for some time over their own concerns. Then everyone hears the sound of a car driving and rushes. Lucy and Felix go into the carport, take the car and drive away. In present day, 24 hours on the river, Mallory gives up paddling and takes a break. As she continues, her boat crashes into a truck, and the boy falls off the boat. But Mallory pulls him out and tries to warm him up, although the food and blankets fall into the water, forcing the boat ashore because the boy is too cold. She leaves the children in the boat while she goes into the forest to fetch food and blankets. Mallory ties the rope to the boat and enters a building, where the rope runs out and is tied to a bed. She takes the blankets. Then she hears a commotion and sees things going on all by herself. She figures out how to get out of the structure, but the ghost keeps muttering her name. Mallory fires her gun at the formless entity, which the girl hears, and she leaves the boat to help Mallory. However, Mallory finds the girl and retrieves her, condemning them for turning away from the boat. In the past, Tom explained to Mallory how he was stationed in Iraq and he and his companions followed a man who would take his children to school amidst all the chaos. The two additionally begin to develop affection for each other. Olympia lets a crazy man named Gary into the house. Mallory holds him at gunpoint while the others forcefully search Gary for anything. He informs the others that some have strayed away from the psychics, following him and his companion, leading the two to visit the animals. Gary's companion fights with one of them, allowing him to break away and rush home, and individuals outdoors are blindfolded, trying to see the animals immediately and have others look at them. He says Douglas has little faith in Gary and tries to force him out of the house at gunpoint. However, Cheryl allows Gary to stay by headbutting Douglas and they secure Douglas in the carport. Olympia begrudgingly apologizes for giving Carrie access and says she feels like a weight, though Mallory tells her she doesn't. Olympia asks Mallory to take care of her baby in case something bad happens, and Mallory agrees. Then Olympia gives the baby a Hello Kitty toy. 38 hours on the river, we see the girl holding the Hello Kitty toy, proving that she is Olympia's girl. Mallory takes her and the children under a blanket as they move at a faster pace and warns them that this will be the most dangerous part of the journey. He lets them know that someone should open their eyes and investigate, and the two kids come forward to volunteer, but Mallory decides it's not worth losing either of them, so no one will see, and she says they'll beat the blinding speed. In the past, Olympia goes into labor. Then Mallory goes into labor. While Tom and Cheryl help the girls, Gary takes a lot of drawings of ghosts because he's one of the crazy people who has seen them and believes others should. He takes Mallory's birds and puts them in the fridge, because they detect danger and alert others. Douglas notices it before removing the papers from the windows. Then Tom notices this. Gary hits Tom in the head and knocks him unconscious. Gary opens the carport entrance to dispose of Douglas. Gary then goes upstairs to find Olympia giving birth to a girl and Mallory giving birth to a boy. Gary pulls up the blinds in front of Olympia. She hands Mallory her baby just before jumping out the window. Olympia jumps out the window and dies. Gary urges Cheryl to look out. Cheryl commits suicide with scissors. While preparing to destroy Mallory and the children, Douglas arrives with a gun but can't shoot with his eyes open. He figures out how to shoot Gary in the arm but kills Douglas by stabbing him with a pair of scissors. Tom, at that moment, like Gary, sees the gun and tries to snatch it away. 2 gunshots are heard, but Tom is seen leaving alive with Mallory and the babies. Now 5 years later, just before the film begins, Mallory and Tom live separately and are raising 2 children. Although Tom calls Mallory by names without interacting with them or in any event, Mallory hears something outside, and some people drive out in their vehicles with no blinds or covers on the windows. Mallory sets her structure outside as a pre-announcement to the children. During the night, the two receive a radio transmission from a man named Rick, who says he is in a secured compound with lots of food and supplies. He teaches them the best way to get to the compound down the stream, letting them know that it is very dangerous to go there with children and how they must cross. Rick advises them to monitor the area by following the sounds of the birds. Tom has to go to campus, but Mallory thinks it might be a trap. Outside, the earlier survivors arrive at the house. Tom confronts Mallory and the kids to get out safely. The survivors demand that Tom's eyes be removed. When they find Mallory and the kids, Tom opens fire on them. He killed 3 raiders. Tom removes his blindfold and kills 2 more. One follows Mallory and the children. The ghost begins to exert control over Tom as Tom follows him to kill him. However, he fights off his predecessor long enough to turn the gun on him and kill the last man. Tom then commits suicide. Mallory learns that Tom is dead. Now it's just Mallory and the kids. They head towards the place Rick told them earlier. It was now 42 hours on the river and they were fast approaching the dangerous point of their journey. They reach shallow water, which Mallory tries to cross, but the boat capsizes and everyone falls out. Mallory is calling for the children and finds the boy in the water, while the girl goes to land and Mallory finds her because the girl has a bell ringing. The three then walk through the woods, where the ghost whispers to them and tries to see them using all its power, but Mallory's will is strong, and she makes the children listen to her and not see. She follows the bird sound as they make their way to the compound, but the ghost surrounds them as she tries to make it inside until someone opens the door and lets her in. Mallory's eyes were examined, and she and the children were admitted. They meet Rick and Mallory learns that the campus is a school for the blind and the people there are protected from ghosts. Dr. Lapham happily welcomes Mallory and the children. He asks the kids their names, and Mallory hasn't named them in a long time. Now the girl is named Olympia after her mother, and the boy is named Tom. Mallory also happily claims to be their mother. Mallory, at that moment, opens her bird box and frees the birds to join the others in a safe haven. Then the children also play happily with the boys there. The movie ends with this. I hope you enjoy this video. Please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.